Jason. It's my job to stump. Hey everybody, it's Carrie Hoffmeister here with Carrie On Abundant TV, and today I am so excited for the guest that I have on today. I have the president of Homeward, speaker and author, Dr. Jim Burns. Jim, thanks so much for chatting with me today. I'm so excited to have you on.
Carrie, it's good to be with you. And we were just talking before about Grand Rapids, where you're based. And I love that town, but I kind of like where I live too, because the Grand Rapids people come our way in the winter because I live at the beach
Yes.
in Southern
Oh,
California.
yeah. They all migrate that way for sure. I'm super excited to have Jim on the show today. So, when I was getting ready to start recording this new season, I had kind of just put it out there for people to let me know what they were wanting to hear and talk about. And I've had a lot of people that said how to have an adult or a relationship with your adult children. I have a lot of friends that are going through that season of life of kids going off to college or becoming empty nesters. So we are going to talk about that. Jim actually has a book out on that. But first, we are going to start off with what we call Carry On the Truth. Okay? So everybody that watches know we start off with this segment. So what it is I am going to give you true or false statements, and you are going to tell me if it is true or false.
Awesome.
Okay?
I love that game. Plus, I like having serious fun. So we're right on here.
All right. Are you ready?
I am ready.
Okay. First one. Peanuts are nuts.
No, they're not. There's something else, but I don't know what they are.
Very good. Peanuts are legumes like lentils and peas.
Yeah. Isn't that weird?
Okay, next one. Copyrights depreciate over time.
Yeah, I think there is actually a time when a copyright goes south.
That is true.
Yeah, old writers don't have the same copyright, and same with music stuff too, I think.
Yeah, because copyrights have an expiration date. Their value decreases as that date approaches.
Interesting. Sure.
Yeah. Romaine lettuce is the best known lettuce in the U.S.
I have no idea, but I'm going to take a guess and say no.
You are good at this. It is
Really?
false. Yeah, it's
Wow.
iceberg lettuce is the most well known in the U.S. It's good. Okay, next one. Soda is the most popular beverage on the planet.
No, water.
You got it. Greenland is 3 times the size of the state of Texas.
Wow, I'd say no, but
It's true.
yeah, just the way the question was, typically you'd think that would be the case, just the way it was asked. But yeah, I have no idea.
It is true. It's the largest island in the world.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, see, you got me.
Hawaii has more active volcanoes than any other U.S. state.
I'm going to say no, although
What do you
I'm going
think
to
it
be in
is?
Hawaii next week. I think it might be Alaska.
You are right.
Yeah.
You're right. Yes.
Yeah.
It's actually Alaska with almost 150 active volcanoes.
Crazy.
A human brain is the organ with the most fat.
I think it depends on the person. On me, I think it's more right around the belly, but there you go. That I'm going to say no.
It's true.
Yeah, I should have. It's the same as the Greenland question, Carrie.
Yeah.
You're stumping me, but at the same time, I should say this, even though I have no idea. But why would they ask? Why would they put the brain? Okay.
It's about 60% of the human brain is fat.
Wow.
Humans lose most of their heat through their heads.
I think that's true.
It is true.
Yeah.
About
because
80% of heat escapes through the head.
So, you can kind of see what my head looks like. So if it's cold, I need to I wear a baseball hat at all times if it's cold, because I need to have that covered or I freeze.
Yeah, because it's escaping. Minnie Mouse's real name is Minerva Mouse.
Yeah, Minerva, it's true.
Did you know that?
I was goofy at Disneyland when I was in high school.
I did not know that. Wow.
Yes.
Last question. Coca-Cola was the first soft drink in the United States.
No.
Do you know what it was?
No, I have no idea.
It was Dr. Pepper.
Okay, you know what? I was gonna say Dr.
You
Pepper.
should
This
have.
is me. Instead of me just saying things that I think in the back of my head.
Well, Jim, we're going to dive right in. We only have
Okay.
limited time with you, and I have lots, several questions that people have sent in. But I would like for you to start a little bit just on your background of how you
Yeah.
got to where you are today.
Okay. Well, when I was younger, had a little bit more hair. Well, a lot of bit more hair. I was a youth pastor, and I was not raised in the church, so I became a Christian when I was 16. So I wasn't raised in any kind of a church background, but to become a youth pastor was like the only thing I wanted to do after I became a Christian, and I loved it. And I spent years and years. I was thinking about Grand Rapids. I've spent speaking to students about $250,000 of a year for many years, and and then I kept thinking the parents need help. So these kids are getting help, but we put them back into like a family that's dysfunctional, like mine was, and they need help. And so I made a move. I made it a move as an adult to start trying to help families succeed. And so in that, I started writing on parenting. I started writing on marriage. A lot of those were kind of similar stuff when you're thinking about family, or whatever.
Hmm.
If I was training youth workers or if I was speaking to kids, but that's what Homeward does. We have four values: strong marriages, confident parents, empowered kids, healthy leaders. And so that's what we do. We create content for all of those phases, from baby to we're talking about adult children, which is harder than hard for a lot of parents, and they never saw it coming.
Hmm. And so tell us a little bit about your book, Doing Life with Your Adult
Yeah,
Children,
yeah. Well,
which also
the main thing is the subtitle: keep your mouth shut and the welcome mat out.
I love that actually.
And I kind of say to people, because I speak on it all the time, and I kind of say, okay, you don't really need to hear the rest of my talk. Just do that, whatever.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of parents, they spend 2 decades of their life with their kids. You've got a 15-year-old, and that's like you're almost done
Yeah.
with them. And your 15-year-old at 18 is going to go, but mom, I'm an adult, and you're going, yeah, but I'm paying for your cell phone, I'm paying for your car insurance, we're paying for your college, that kind of a thing. And so we're shocked, but what they want is more freedom. And our job, I think, is to help them become a responsible adult. And so if we're going to do that to help them become a responsible adult, then I think it's really important that parents have to reinvent the way they do parenting. So I notice that I didn't call it parenting your adult child. I
Hmm.
called it doing life with your adult children. I had to move my relationship with my kids from being like the big time advice giver to realizing that adults, children view unsolicited advice as taken as criticism, because what they hear is not the advice. They hear,
Yeah.
you're not all grown up, and I don't trust you to be all grown up, which there's sometimes reasons for that. But it's a really interesting thing, because we at Homeward, we've talked about helping your 2-year-old become one day a responsible adult for
Yeah.
years. And then all of a sudden, these people with adult children started saying, so what about adult children? And I didn't have adult children when I first started this. And so I was like, yeah, no, well, we got to work that out. And then boom, I had adult children, and 3 girls. So we had no hormones or drama in our life. No offense. But we did. Wow. And it was hard. And Kathy said, I didn't see that coming. And
Mhm.
so, I wrote that book more out of desperation for us to figure it out, and then did the research. Usually I would do the research, have a feel or whatever, but just so many people were just kind of desperate, saying, what on earth is going on? And it's been a really interesting thing. I mean, like last summer, this book has been out for a little bit. Last summer, it was number 4 on Amazon worldwide for a bit,
Wow.
because parents just have this deep need to figure out, how do I do this? And the biggest issue for them is that their adult kids either are violating their values and they're in shock, or they are straying from their faith, or they're just, like last weekend I was speaking in Austin, and at a big mega church, and the pastor gets up to introduce me, and he shows a photo of him and his 22-year-old daughter, saying, hey, first time she's ever voted, so go vote, whatever. And then he goes, I think we canceled our votes out. Because she was going to vote one way and he was the other. And I
Okay.
just said Thanksgiving this year is going to be crazy with the adult children coming back in, because a lot of the adult children have different views, even politically. But on so many key issues, we see so many different views. So I'm really glad to have written it. I'm glad to speak on that. I have another book called Finding Joy in the Empty Nest. And I find that a lot of people do not prepare for the empty nest.
Hmm.
And so they, like the illustration I give is, and this deals with the adult children too. My wife was the sun, and she had three planets revolving around her, like called our kids. And then there was a fourth in the house, me. And all of a sudden, all she's got is this one kind of wobbly planet, me. And she went into I wouldn't say deep, like a deep depression, but she goes like, what am I going to do with the rest of my life? Because we actually came to the conclusion that we were going to spend more time in the empty nest and
Hmm.
dealing with adult children than we did for those 2 decades of, dealing with our own kids, on a day-to-day basis and being semi-control. So, it's really an interesting subject, and one that people need content on. They need help. They need advice. They need to figure this out. And so do the kids. And then I'll, let you go on. But what I found out was my kids didn't know how to be adult children.
Hmm.
We didn't know how to parent an adult. So, we're both going down parallel tracks. And sometimes that really brings a lot of crises to everybody.
Yeah. Do you feel like it's something, so when you say adult children, does this start then at the age of 18, or is this something that we
Yeah.
can actually prepare them for
Yeah.
before
Yeah.
the age
Well,
of
I think
18?
I think what people should do is prepare. So by the teens, kind of become, you're in control from 2 to 10, you're
Right.
totally catering from 0 to 2. And then about 10 to 15, you're kind of coaching them. You're still in charge. You put them on a timeout. You're giving them direction, but some of their day-to-day decisions have to be done by them, and they will be
Yeah.
done whether you like it or not. By the time they get to be 15, you've got that 15-year-old, um, on through, like, I would call emerging adulthood or latent adolescence.
Hmm.
You're now a consultant, because really truly most of their day-to-day decisions are by them. At 15 they're not typically driving, but once they get a little older and they're driving and they're away more, and you're kind of getting used to it, because it's almost a little bit more like an empty nest if it's the last
Yeah.
kid. But I think they don't know what to do, and we kind of don't know what to do. But that consulting, if we do it right, then we become more mentors. Like my kids, I would say the 20s were a little rougher. My kids are in their 30s now. And I would say that in the 20s, it was a little bit rougher because we were still trying to figure each other out. But, yesterday I said to my wife, I said, do you know that I got 3 calls from the girls? Well, one I saw at church, and so this wasn't a call. And they all were kind of mentoring questions. And I just went, oh, I love this stage.
Mm-hmm.
But to do that meant I had to, you can't see the scars on my tongue, but I had to like bite my tongue so many times, because I had to learn that experience is a better teacher than advice. So I just have to let them, experience some of that stuff. And that's hard to do, especially when I think they're making dumb decisions,
Oh,
and
yeah.
they're my kids.
Right. Yeah. I mean, even at 15, when you say unsolicited advice, they take as
Yeah. Oh,
criticism. I even see that now,
oh no,
at
we saw that.
15. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Where I'm like, okay, so I kind of approach it now as, do you want, are you seeking
Yeah.
my advice, or do you just want me to listen right now?
Yeah.
Because they
That's
do,
really
they
good.
think they have it figured out at
Exactly.
15.
Exactly.
And you're like, you did what?
Yeah.
Like,
Well, by the
so
time they're in their 30s, they have now figured out that they don't have it, or they have their own kids and they're like, oh my gosh, you guys did that for us. We didn't have any idea.
it's
So it
so
gets
true.
better that way.
What do you think is the biggest mistake that parents make with their adult children? What do you see?
I honestly would tend to go with they want to convince their kids to be more like them, when in fact what they've got to do is build a relationship. They're still talking about rules. One of the phrases that we like to say at Homeward is rules without relationship equal rebellion. Well, here's your chance to have a
Mm,
relationship with and reinvent the relationship as an adult. And so parents, I think they have to quit, giving advice. They have to quit being in control. And that's not easy. I think that's one of the harder things, to change the relationship. I think we have to give the kids the passport to adulthood. It's not that they're going to take adulthood anyway. So I think
hmm.
it's if we don't give them the passport to adulthood, then they're going to have a failure to launch, or they're going to be mad at us. And 27% of adult children are estranged from one person in the family. Okay. Now, a lot of times that's a deadbeat dad who, walked out. I mean, I get that.
Right.
But there's other reasons too. And part of that is sometimes it's just, the parents are too overbearing, even when they mean well. I think
Yep.
anytime if I've ever given my kids advice, or I've ever, I've meant well, my motives were right. It was just should have done it.
Hmm. Yeah. Okay, so I do have some questions from people that had sent them in, so I'm going to go ahead and go into those. But the first one is, how do you approach your adult child concerning their social media content?
Mhm.
How to explain that it could affect um, their career as they are going through job interviews post
Yeah.
college graduation?
Yeah. Well, I think it's kind of, I mean, I think for one thing, they're adults. So
Hmm.
what they do on their social media or what they're wearing when they, take a selfie or have drinks because they were at a party and, holding, that up or doing whatever. I think there a lot of times they are unaware that it does affect, that now schools look at social media when they're looking at kids coming into school, a college. Every job person's looking at social media.
Yep.
At Homeward, we're looking at when we just hired a new president. We had his social media down. We were watching everything that he was doing because he was one of the top candidates, and so we knew his story before he knew we knew his story.
Yeah.
Right? I don't mean that in a bad way. But we were stalking him. Okay, who is this guy? If he's going to lead this mission to the next, into higher and greater, we better see who he is.
Right.
So they don't understand that. And so, like for me, I have found that because I have a relationship with my kids and because I spend time with them, like my daughters, I still spend once a month, I have a meal with them. And I have
Aw.
two who live in Los Angeles. So it's a little bit of a drive, but it's not too bad. I live in Orange County, California. And then the other, Christy, lives right by us. She's harder sometimes to, she's got a 9-year-old and a 6-year-old, so she's harder to, to get. But I find that just hanging out with them, that sometimes that gives me the bonus to have one of those conversations. But I've said, hey, can I, I saw something on your social media. I've actually said this to one of them. I
Okay.
saw that on your social media, and I'm wondering if some of the people that you're trying to reach with this, because it's not a personal account, it's a work mission account that she has. I said some of the people might really be bugged by that. She'd made a political comment. Well,
Hmm.
I never make a political comment because I have half the people would be mad at me. And I don't, so I just don't bring it up. I mean, I have,
Yeah.
Republicans love their kids and Democrats love their kids and Christians love their kids and non-Christians love their kids. So they're going to see that I'm unashamedly Christian, but at the same time, I'm not out to offend people. So
Right.
I said to her, and she goes, I don't think so, Dad, blah, blah, blah. And then she calls me back later. She goes, hey, I had some people cancel because I came out in favor of, something. You're kind of right. I was like, this was on the phone, but I wanted to go,
Yeah.
yeah. Can I just record you saying this is right? You're right. But yeah, so I think sometimes you do it, but know that when you're doing it, you may be taking a hit. It's softer when you say, hey, can I speak into this? And if they go, I don't want
Mm,
to hear what you have to say, you go, okay. And then
that's good.
you let them go. But sure.
The next one is how to reestablish a relationship when you don't know what went wrong.
Yeah. It's amazing, Carrie. I'm amazed at that question because I like tomorrow, I'll be on the air with something called New Life Live. It's the largest Christian counseling show in the world. 2 million people
Hmm.
a week listen to it. And I'm on twice a week pretty much. It's always that question's always asked. Like they will say, so what, my daughter isn't speaking to me. My adult son isn't speaking to me. Well, what's the problem? And they go, I honestly don't know. And sometimes I want to go, seriously, you honestly don't know. But I've heard it so many times now, I'm convinced that that's not happening. So I think so. This is going to be an interesting answer for you, but I actually think we kind of tiptoe into it. I don't think we just barge in, and this is what they do. We barge in and we go, "We've got. Why are you not speaking to me? What have I done?
Hmm.
What have you done?" And furthermore, they're one topic parent. Let me tell you about the thing that's bugging me about you. Well, they're not safe then. So I think you tiptoe into the relationship. If they like coffee, go out to coffee with them. If it's not an estrangement where they won't do that, and don't even ask. I mean, literally just build into their life. If they have kids, then you be the grandparent who doesn't give those kids underwear and socks. Have fun,
Hmm.
do the Carrie questions with those grandkids. Send them whatever. I got in trouble yesterday because Heidi doesn't want too much sugar, and it's not like we're horrible at this. Doesn't want too much sugar, but there was no way that my 4-year-old grandson was going to get away with that. We had some Halloween candy just
Right, of
left around, so there
course.
was
Of
just some
course.
there, and he apparently didn't clean off the chocolate in his car seat, right? So I mean, but be that grandparent, that puts them in disequilibrium, and it changes because they're mad about something, and then So I think then you tiptoe into it. And even if they tell you, be a listener. Listening is the language of love. So don't get defensive. Just say, I really want to know. And honestly, I will not even try to argue with you. I want to hear what's bugging you. And I really do want to apologize if there's something that where I've offended you and I didn't know, but I can't apologize because I don't know, what it is. A lot of times that'll break it. The other thing I think that can happen is the other siblings may know. And so without being rude about it, you might want to say, gosh, I just wish I, you know, could understand why, your sister is so bugged at me or your brother is, so bugged at me. And they might just blurt out, well, it's because you told them not to marry that guy and you did, or you
Right.
have a view, you like, this politician and they like that politician and you just kept pressing and you tried to convert them. Or even faith issues, they'll say that sometimes too.
Yeah.
You know, right now they just need some space and you're pushing on them too hard. Then
Hmm.
listen to what the critique and the criticism is.
Yeah. I actually know the person that asked this question. So my follow-up question to that would be, what if it is an estrangement to where they won't
Yeah.
go to coffee with them or
Yeah.
anything?
Right. I think you keep the relationship open by sending birthday cards, things like that. But actually, this is a marathon. This is not a sprint. And so I think estrangement can be, it's funny, I'm writing on this right now. So,
Mm.
a year from now, we can talk more about it. But I honestly think that some estrangements can be brought back because you've been kind, you've led with love, you've been patient as all get out. If that's the case, now we're talking to about the parents of adult children, then I think, and you need a support system around you because it is one of the most broken hearted. This friend, you said you knew them, they're broken hearted.
Hmm.
It's what they wake up thinking about. It's what they go to bed thinking about. It's what they talk to their spouse if they're married about. What they talk to their friends about. And so again, we just have to have their support because this is going to be a long process. But don't hurry it. If you rush the process, they'll run.
Hmm.
So apparently they don't think you're safe. I'd say this to the woman who's going to watch this. Apparently they don't think you're safe. I think you might be, but they don't. And so you got to become safe again. So the way to become safe is to not keep bringing up, whatever it was. And actually, then if your adult child, is not willing to spend time with you, then just slow it down, but write the cards. Now, people tell me, and I don't have easy answers for this. They'll say, I know the cards go unopened, or I know, I've sent hundreds of dollars of Starbucks cards just to say I was thinking of you and I love you. And, they were never spent. I don't know how you can tell that, but that's what they tell me. Well, that's a really hard thing to do, but be patient, keep, praying about it, have friends who can kind of help you think through it and pray for a breakthrough and there are breakthroughs. There are breakthroughs every single day.
Hmm. That's
But
good.
let them move on their terms, not on your terms. Your
Hmm.
term is let's get this thing settled. Let's make it happen. Let's sing kumbaya. And I don't think
Right.
that's going to happen.
Okay, I have two more questions actually. I have one that just came in, but they're kind of similar, these two. So it is how to navigate, overcome difficult topics that are known disagreements.
Yeah. Well, I think you got two options. One is to not bring it up. We have a daughter who does, I'm not into the political thing, but we have a daughter who's like adamant opposite of what my wife would be. And we've just learned that we don't have to have that conversation. I don't do that with people at work. I don't do that with everybody. I don't walk around the room saying, what do you believe? What do you believe? And sometimes at families, I think you just have a no conversation rule. You don't even have to say it out loud. You just have to, not do it. Don't engage. That's
Hmm.
that's one option. The other option is to, engage if it works and they like dialogue and it's like something they like to do, the dialogue and debate, and that's even kind of a lovely thing. I mean, there are families that love, having those moments.
Right.
Do it. But if it do it, the question I have, and literally this hits home with our own family with a couple of things. The question I have is, do we need that conversation? Does it really matter? And some things matter, but not most things don't matter. I mean, they matter to me, but they don't necessarily have to matter to them. And so I tend to go the other way in terms of going, what, I don't need to have a conversation about whatever these topics are, and it drives me nuts because I'd like them to all be like me and believe like me, but they don't.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and ask this one last question. It is similar to the one I just asked you, but there's like three questions in one.
Mm.
So, how are parents to handle disagreements? We talked about that. Petty behavior with an adult children instead of just ignoring. Also, questionable life choices that affect the whole family, but always catering to the toxic child.
Yeah, yeah. Wow, good. They're asking the questions that people ask me all the time,
Hmm.
and that those questions are really good. Let's go backwards, and you might have to help remind me. But let's
Okay.
talk the toxic child. When there's it's just the lifestyle is toxic or the lifestyle goes against, and when it relates to everybody, not just mom's bugged because Junior moved in with somebody. I mean, that's not
Yeah.
good, in terms of their lifestyle. But I'm talking about this is now relating to everybody. It could be anything from, gender type issues to addictions and things like that. But that's one of the areas that I think the parents have to make sure that they're in good relationship with them still. And so I say, do they know what you believe? Yes. Do they know how you feel? Yes. Then they know. So lean in. Tell them, not never in the heat of the battle. Okay, because in the heat of the battle that never works. I mean, it doesn't work with your 15-year-old. So not in the heat of the battle, in a loving moment, just say, you know what, I need to get this off my chest, and
Hmm.
this is going to help me maybe more than it's going to help you. But here's what I think, and then you're safe, but you have to expand the relationship. So then the next time you're with them, you're talking about something else because you've now said what you believe. You can't be a one topic parent. And um, when it gets super toxic in the family, and say the siblings don't want to meet with the toxic child or whatever, or the toxic stepdad or whatever it might be, um, those are really tough things. And that's when I say get some counsel. I quote the Bible a lot. The Bible says, where there's no counsel, the people fall, and the multitude of counselors are a safety. And I watch counselors dissect those and actually get to a resolving a with a plan.
Hmm.
They don't always work because we don't always do it right. But that's when, if there's something like that, you can't handle that on your own. If you try to handle it, the burden is going to be too heavy for you. And plus, no offense, but you sometimes don't know what you're doing, and you can mess it up. So get with a counselor who knows this stuff and really helps them. Toxic um, can become untoxic if we do things right.
Hmm.
But there's other things in that. Somebody could have a mental illness. For example, adult children, a lot of adult young men and women, kind of in their early 20s, that's when schizophrenia comes. That's when some of these other things comes. That's when experimentation with drugs and alcohol and all those kind of things. That's when they tend to move in with somebody in terms of cohabitation, all those kind of things. Those are things that parents didn't see coming, but
Yeah.
parents need help in terms of navigating that. And at the same time, when their kids are making really poor choices and it's toxic for everybody, parents don't want to talk to anybody about it. So that's when they need to have people around them that they can talk to and who are safe for them. Um, and I've found, because I hope I'm open and authentic about this in terms of even our own family. Um, I just hope people have other people around them who can be open and authentic and say, well, we don't know what we were doing, but this helped for us or whatever.
Right.
But also the counsel part, sometimes a counselor can, if it's too toxic. And again, I mentioned things like mental illness. I mentioned things, like drug and alcohol addiction, sex addictions, porn addiction, all those kinds of things. Those are tougher things for mom and dad to handle. Don't do it alone. Well, when you say petty, for me, most things that are petty, I just put aside. Okay. And like my daughter Christy has some petty behavior. Steve's birthday was the other day. We gave a card with a Nordstrom's. He loves Nordstrom's. Most women like Nordstrom's. I never get him in say, but he loves Nordstrom's. So we gave him this card, a lot of money in there, not super crazy money, but I'm saying, a nice birthday present.
Right.
And I gave it to Christy 2 days before her birthday and said, hey, can you give this to Steve? Because we watch the kids at certain times. And I saw him at church and he didn't say anything. And not but he always does. So it dawned on me, Christy didn't give the card.
Oh,
So I
no.
write, I'm thinking, so I write Steve and say, hey, how was your birthday? Hope it was good. Didn't get to talk to you much at church. By the way, did you get our card? And he goes, no, I didn't get the card. So I throw Christy under the bus and just go, Christy is such a dork. She has a card for you, and we gave it earlier. So then he writes right back, and I have no idea what they're. I hope I didn't cause a, trauma
Right.
between those two, or drama, I should say, not trauma. And but that's a petty issue. I actually should have known, and we could have put it in the mail. We only live 15 minutes away. I could have driven there, handed the card. Kathy could have done it. We just have to, does it real pettiness? When you say petty, you can maybe help. And like when I see Christy, I'm going to go, hey, dork, I give you the deal. I mean, so I'll do that to her face,
Right.
but I'll do it with a smile and I love you. And I'll do it while I'm hugging her,
Hmm.
and let her know that, that's not the end. That's not going to break a relationship. That's ridiculous. So yeah, I'd like to, I don't think you'd put much time into the pettiness stuff.
Yeah,
Little
that's
stuff.
good. That's good. Thank you so much, Jim, for answering all these questions and coming on today.
Sure. My
It's
pleasure.
been such a blessing. And so I
Yeah.
know that you speak a lot and you travel a lot. Where can people follow you to see where you're going to be
Yeah. Yeah.
speaking
Well, we're on all,
next?
the social media things, and Homeward has a great website, homeward.com. Um, and, Homeward has social media. I've got social media. We have a great podcast called Homeward with Jim Burns. We're here in the studio and we're going to do one right now. It's going to be cool. And, so they can just go online. They can find us. And our job is to come along and serve parents, strong marriages, if they're married. Some people, come into it different ways, and we talk about all that. Um, and confident parents,
Hmm.
empowered kids, healthy leaders. So that's where our content is. Yeah, it's great stuff.
That's really good. Yes, and he does have other books out, so just make sure you connect with him and see what other books he has. But also, if you find yourself as an empty nester or your kids are entering into adulthood, make sure to check out his book, Doing Life with Your Adult Children, and keep your mouth shut and the welcome mat
Mhm.
out. I love that subtitle there. And thank you all so much for watching. And just remember until next time to carry on.